Hi everybody, welcome to video 2 for Learning Target 13. So something I want you to make note of just before we start is remember the form for quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Just something that I want you to note is that this equation must be equal to 0. That'll be important for this page here. Okay, so as I just said, so our form for a quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. So if you notice here, we have an ax squared, we have a bx, and we have a c. But we have the c on the right side of the equation when we want it to be on the left side. So all we're going to do is to get negative 24 to the other side, we're just going to add it. So when I do that, I'm left with x squared minus 11x plus 24 equals 0, which is now in the correct form. We wanted the equation equal to 0. So now we're ready to start factoring. Remember, what I like to do is just make my parentheses, set it to 0, and split up my x squared. From here, we can start to think about, okay, well, what multiplies to be 24, but adds or subtracts to be negative 11? So let's come over to the side and think about our factors of 24. Well, we've got 1 times 24. We have 2 and 12. We have 3 and 8. And we have 4 and 6. So thinking about, well, what could add or somehow subtract to get to be negative 11, I think I want to focus here on this 3 and 8 because, well, I know 3 plus 8 is 11, but we want negative 11. So if I were to make both of them negative, well, that gets me to negative 11. So it would make sense in parentheses to put a minus 3 and a minus 8. So this is normally where we left off before this learning target, but now because we've learned about the zero product property, we're going to split them up and set them each equal to 0 so we can find our solutions. I'm going to add 3 on each side to get x by itself. So x is equal to positive 3. And here I'll add 8 on each side. So x is equal to positive 8. And we have completed number 5. So let's move on to number 6. So again, we have ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Well, if you look at what we have our ax squared. This is our c, and bx is on the wrong side. So we want to get 6x over to the left side of the equation. So to do that, we'll have to subtract 6x. And to get everything in the correct order, I'm going to write x squared, and I'm going to put minus 6x in the middle because that's where the bx goes, and plus 9, and that's equal to 0. Now we're ready to start factoring. So I'm going to make my parentheses, split up my x squared, and now we can start to think about, well, what multiplies to be positive 9 but adds or subtracts to be negative 6? So my factors of 9 are 1 and 9 and 3 and 3. Well, I know I can make 3 and 3 be positive 6, but how could I make it be negative 6 is what you have to think about. So 3 plus 3, well, that's positive 6, so that's not going to work. But if I did negative 3 minus 3, oh, see how that gets us to negative 6. So in my parentheses, I'm going to write a minus 3 and a minus 3. And remember, like I did on the first page, you can always do a check. Is minus 3 negative 6? Yeah. Is negative 3 times negative 3 positive 9? Yes. So that all works out. Now we're ready to set each equal to 0. So x minus 3 equals 0 and x minus 3 equals 0. We'll add 3 to each side. So x is positive 3. And add 3 over here, and x is positive 3. Okay, so let's move on to number 7. This one's a little bit more complicated only because we have our ax squared, we have a bx, and we have a c, but bx and c are on the right side of the equation. We want everything to be on the left side, so it's equal to 0. So to do that, I need to add 2x to both sides, and I'll need to subtract 35 to each side. So we will have x squared plus 2x minus 35 is equal to 0. And now we're ready to factor. So I'm going to make my parentheses and split up my x squared. And we can think about what multiplies to be negative 35 but adds or subtracts to be positive 2. So my factors of 35 are 1 and 35 and 5 and 7. So I'm going to focus on this 5 and 7 here because I think I could make 5 and 7 become a positive 2. So when you're playing around with a little bit on, well, I've got my 5 and my 7, which one's going to be positive, which one's going to be negative. Well, if I did a positive 5 minus 7, well, that's negative 2. So I want a positive 2, so that's not going to work. If I did negative 5, let's say even a minus 7 also, well, that's negative 12, so that's not going to work. How about negative 5 plus 7? Ooh, that gets me 2, so that works. So I'm going to put a minus here and a plus there. And then, if you want to do your check, is negative 5 plus 7 2? Yes. Is negative 5 times 7 negative 35? Yes. So now we're ready for our final step. I'm going to split both up and make x minus 5 equals 0 and x plus 7 equals 0. Then solve for x, so add 5 on each side. So x is equal to 5. Subtract 7 on each side, so x is equal to negative 7. All right, so let's look at the last one here, number 8. So when we look at this problem, same idea, the 16 is on the wrong side, but we are missing our bx, so I'll talk about that in a second here. But first, let's just start by subtracting 16. So x squared minus 16 is equal to 0. So that bx is missing, but that's really just like saying x squared plus 0x minus 16 is equal to 0. So what multiplies to be negative 16 but adds or subtracts to be 0? So when I think about my factors of 16, 1 and 16, 2 and 8, 4 and 4, which one of those could I make become 0? And making our parentheses, sorry, I should have done that first, split up my x. I'm going to say plus 4 and minus 4 because 4 minus 4 is 0 and 4 times negative 4 gives me negative 16. So now I'm ready to split both sides up. And x plus 4 is equal to 0, and x minus 4 is equal to 0. I'll subtract 4 on each side on this side to get x by itself, and then add 4 here. And I have completed this page and problem. So if you would like to stop and go ahead and go on to the next video or look at your homework, that's fine. I am going to show just a little bonus at the bottom just for a quick little trick that has to do with number 8 if you would like to. So number 8 is something that we call the difference of squares. And there is a formula to go with this, but I'm just going to show you a quick pattern. So here we had x squared minus 16 and it became x plus 4x minus 4. Well, if you just want to see a little bit of a pattern, if I have an x squared and a minus and a number that has a perfect square, there's a little bit of a pattern. So if I've got my x squared, I can split that up, and having the subtraction sign is also important. Well, the square root of 4 is equal to 2, so I can automatically make this x plus 2, x minus 2. If I had x squared minus 9, so notice I have the x squared and the minus sign again. The square root of 9 is 3, so this can become x plus 3, x minus 3. Let me just show you one more. If we had x squared minus 25, okay, well, we've got that x squared, we've got the minus, and the square root of 25 is 5. So I can make this become x plus 5, x minus 5. So maybe you see a pattern there. If not, that's okay. I just wanted to show. And you might notice some patterns like this in the future. Thanks for watching.